Haribo. My name is Janapati Das, and we are going to read from the Bhagavad Gita today for our Bhagavad Gita as it is class. Let me offer my respects to you. Thank you for tuning in consistently and making comments. Please encourage those people that are your friends to subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed already, or to comment on the videos or ask questions. Feel free. I like to take the opportunity to praise my spiritual master and to offer my respectful obeisances to him and to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my spiritual grandfather. We are going to continue with reading through chapter 10, but first, as always, we will chant Krishna's names. So please join along.
Rama
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada Haribo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radhakrishna Prasthayate. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, namaste. We were reading through chapter 10. Readings about very interesting things. Kartikeya, the son of Shiva, and different comparisons. And I've been researching a lot of these things. It's very interesting that the different classes of living entities in the material world, Rudras, and Yakshas and Rakshasas and Maruts. Maruts, of course, are like the different weather creatures of followers of Lord Indra, who are responsible for the atmospheric demigods and living entities, and it's all very interesting. Yakshas are these different kind of living entities, spiritual kind of living entities, which the demigod, I'm slipping my mind. What was Yakshas? Kuvera, right? The chief of finance, right? Is a Yaksha. And we are continuing about this. Text 26. I think we already read the text 25. Yeah. Text 26. Ashvataha Sarva Vrikshanam Devashinam Cha Narada Gandharvanam Chitrarataha Siddhanam Kapilo Muni Ashvataha, the banyan tree, Sharva Vrikshanam, of all trees, Devarshinam, of all the sages amongst the demigods, Cha, and Narada, Gandharva Pam, the citizens of the Gandharva planet, Chitrarata, Siddhanam, of all those who are perfected, Kapila Muni. Translation: of all the trees, I am the holy fig tree. That's interesting. I didn't realize the banyan tree it says banyan tree. So I guess it's considered to be a type of fig tree, a holy fig tree. I didn't realize it had figs. But the banyan tree is pretty immense. You see them in Hawaii. They're just huge trees, and they got all these roots that come down from the branches, and the branches grow into the ground, and it's a humongous tree, and considered to be a holy tree. Of all the trees, Krishna's here saying that he is the banyan tree. I am the holy fig tree, and amongst sages and demigods I am Narada. Narada Muni, of course, the great transcendental spaceman, he is referenced so many times in different parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book, and whatnot, and is playing his transcendental Veena through the universe of the upper planetary, the spiritual world, upper planetary, the earthly planets, the lower planets, all over, chanting the names of Krishna and appearing and to assist Krishna wherever he can. And so many great stories about Narada, but of the sages and demigods, Krishna is the Narada Muni. Of the singers of the god Gandharvas, I am Chitralata, and among the perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. So The Gandharvas, very heavenly creatures in the heavenly planets. They sing very beautifully. They're very beautiful. Sometimes people consider the Gandharvas are what are known as angels. Chitraratha is the greatest singer of the Gandharvas. And among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Right? So Kapila Dev is referenced. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead incarnation, and he instructed his mother Devahuti on the Shankha Yoga process. The fig tree, Ashvatthata, is one of the most beautiful and highest trees, and the people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. And it's also, stated that Narada plays a very key role in the Srimad Bhagavatam, of which we're reading. He instructs his disciple, Srila Vyasadeva, on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vyasadeva is dictating, he's observing, and he's the whole world of Krishna, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and has written it down. But he would not have been able to write it down had it not been by the mercy of his spiritual master, Narada. Thus, he is a representation of Krishna as a devotee. But he was also the devotee of Lord Brahma. He was a disciple of Lord Brahma, and he also inquired from Lord Brahma, thinking Lord Brahma initially to be the Supreme Lord, and saw that Lord Brahma was actually worshiping somebody higher, and so he inquired. And so our disciplic lineage comes from Krishna, of course, but Krishna has instructed the information to Brahma, first being in the universe, the creator demigod, and he instructed it to his disciple Narada, and Narada instructed the transcendental bhakti yoga to his disciple Srila Vyasadeva, and so on and so on. We can go to the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita and see our disciplic lineage all the way down to our Srila Prabhupada. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chitraratha. Amongst the perpetually living entities, Kapila is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. So, Bhaktivedanta has made this point before, that the original Kapila Dev was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but there was another Kapila who was supposedly teaching Shankha Yoga later on. I don't know much about it, other than the fact that he was an atheist and the conclusion was incorrect. So much interesting elements of the universe, and this universe, scientists want to, it's pretty fascinating when we think about, scientists are just kind of wondering, like what kind of gas forms or chemicals are on different planets, but they don't realize that there's a whole different dimensions to the universe, and things that we do not even perceive. If we would not even have known about it had it not been for the Vedic instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 27. Uchaya Shrava Sham Ashvanam Vidimam Amrityo Dvavam Arevatam Gajendranam Naranam Cha Naradhipam Uchaya Shrava Sham Uchaya Shava Ashvanam, among horses. So Krishna has many different incarnations, and it comes as different kinds of animals and animal-like things. And this was one of the incarnations. It's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's a whole story behind that too. So worth reading the Srimad Bhagavatam to find out about it. Vidi no mam me amrita udbhavam, produced from the churning of the ocean. Aravatam arivata, Gajendranam, of elephants. Another story of Gajendra and the alligator, the alligator bit his leg, and they were in a fierce fight, and actually both of them had been living into demigods, and there were reasons behind this, and Krishna came and released both of them. Naranam, among human beings, Cha and Naradhipam, the king. Of horses know me to be Uchara Shrava, who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants, I am Arivata. Oh, I was thinking of another story, actually, but Arivata, I believe, is also Lord Indra's elephant. I was thinking of Gajendra, which was another story. And among men, I am the monarch. So the king was everything. Now, we don't really have monarchies so much. I mean, there are countries with monarchies, but they're corrupt. This is not like the monarchy, the Vedic system, where there were great emperors of very high spiritual quality. Purport: the devotee demigods and the demons asuras once took a sea journey. Here we go, some stories. In this journey, nectar and poison were produced. Oh yeah, now I remember. They were churning. I think they asked. I'm trying to think of who it was that they were churning. The demigods and the demons were churning the mountain or something, and because there were demons and demigods, there was nectar and poison produced, and Lord Shiva drank from the poison. And this is why Bhaktivedanta Swami says about Shaivites, those who worship Shiva, and sometimes you have the Shaivites who are worshippers of Lord Shiva as the Supreme Lord, of which he is. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in a different expansion from Krishna. And they smoked ganja because Lord Shiva had smoked ganja. But Bhaktivedanta Swami said, if you're going to imitate Lord Shiva and try to smoke ganja, you should also be able to drink an ocean of poison. We're kind of doing that anyways with ganja, with marijuana. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchairashrava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Arivata. I could have sworn that Arivata was Lord Indra's, but I'll have to do a little bit more research about that. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they had special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is a representative of Krishna, because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainer of the kingdoms. It used to be that emperors and kings in the Vedic system were representatives of, in the Varnashram system, there is Kshatriyas, were the kingly caste. And they were warriors, and there was a role for them to be maintaining and protecting citizens, and making sure that the citizens were, protecting them, and making sure they were comfortable, and that they were protected from wild animals and all those kind of things. So the modern day Kali Yuga king is one who is corrupt and is an oppressor of the people and whatnot. So the kings of Europe and whatnot, we see were not quite like the kings of India. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. Yeah, the people loved, if you read the Mahabharata, people loved because there was always good fortune. Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit, Lord Rama, they were just like in love with these devotees, and also Lord Rama is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so they were heartbroken when they had, when Yudhisthira had to leave, and Lord Rama, they wanted to follow, all the citizens wanted to follow him out to the forest, right? They both had to go to the forest because of particular reasons. Maharaj Parikshit was cursed, and so it broke the hearts of the followers of Maharaj Parikshit, because they were great devotees. They were compassionate, and our spiritual master has said that Krishna has come to show compassion upon the living entities, and the representative of Krishna, because they are non-different, because they are linked in will with the Supreme Personality of God, that compassion of Krishna is manifested in the form of the Lord, of the spiritual master. And the kings were like spiritual masters. They cared, they had great compassion for their followers, because they saw them all as children of Krishna. You got to take care. It's a wonderful lesson to remember. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and now is finally abolished. And where it followed still is pretty corrupt, Nobody really follows it anymore. The king in England, we have a king in England still. We still have a monarchy that's kind of still there, even though there's a democratic system that's over, the monarchy only has a minimal amount of power. It's more like just caricature. In the Vedic literature, the king is considered to be okay, so I read that. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Text 28. Ayudanam aham vajram denunam ashmi kamaduk Prajanash chashmi kandarpaha sarpanam ashmi vashuki ayudanam. Of all weapons, aham, I am, vajram, the thunderbolt, denunam, of cows, asmi, I am, kamakduk, the Sarabi cows, prajana, for begetting children, cha, and asmi, I am, Kandarbha, Cupid, Sarpanam, of all snakes, Ashmi, I am, Vasuki. Of the weapons, I am the thunderbolt. So Lord Indra has the thunderbolt, this very powerful weapon. If you've seen it in the sky, it's like, it can just kill people right away. Among cows, I'm the Sarabi, which the Sarabi cows give unlimited milk, and you see them. I don't know if there's actually a Sarabi in this. No, there's no picture in this one, but in some of the pictures, you see the cow, the Sarabi cow by Krishna's feet. Very sweet. Givers of abundant milk. Yay. Krishna loves the abundant milk. Of procreators, I am Kandarbha, the god of love, right? So we have Cupid, we've heard about this, growing up, Cupid with the little angel, in the story of the West. But Cupid is a real god, the real demigod of love. And Madana Mohana Murari, Krishna is Cupid is, he makes people fall in love with each other in the material world, but Krishna is an attractor of Cupid, said also. Krishna is an attractor of Kandarbha. So even the god of love is in love with Krishna. And of the serpents, I am Vasuki, the chief. So there is a serpent, Nagus. Nagu race of the referenced in many stories, the snakes in Krishna's story. And there was a story of Garuda, right? The bird carrier of Krishna, and how he would always be stealing he would be offered, he could want to go and steal the snakes and eat them, right? The snakes. And so Vasuki was like trying to pacify him, and he was saying, okay, I'll give you an offering every month, but then why am I thinking? I should remember the story of Krishna. There's the Agashura, not Agashura. That's the other one, the other snake. Oh gosh, with my brain. Anyway, I'll remember it. The snakes with the several heads that Krishna dances on, right? Guys, it's like old age. I can't believe I'm forgetting that. Anyway, so in that case, the snake there that came and polluted the Jamuna, and Krishna was dancing on the head. This is another snake in that situation as well. He came and he was actually stealing Garuda's offerings. He was like, why should Garuda get these snakes? I wouldn't. I'm the great snake with many heads. But Krishna, of course, kicked his heads in later on. So the thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world. There's nothing in this material world that gives something unlimited amount of milk, right? But there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called Sarabi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the Sarabi cows. Kandharva is a sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandharva is a representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna. But sex for the generation of good children is called Kandharva and represents Krishna. And so Krishna mentions earlier on where he says, I am sex life, which is, under regulated principle. So there is regulated sex allowed for householders who are raising children in Krishna consciousness. So, but this sort of like rampant sex life is not what they're talking about here. Anantash chashmi naganam varuno yadashamaham pitrunam aryama chashmi yamasham yamatamaham anantaha ananta. Cha also, Ashmi I am, Naganam of all serpents, Varuna the demigod controlling the waters, Yada Yasham of all aquatics, Aham I am, Pritranam of the ancestors, Aryama, Cha also, Ashmi I am, Yamaha the controller of death, Shamyama Tam of all regulations, Aham I am. Translation, text 29. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Ananta. So Ananta Shesha, he's a celestial, right? The transcendental Balaram, Ananta Shesha, the great hooded snake which protects as like an umbrella over Lord Vishnu. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Ananta. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of the law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. So, Aryama I'm not familiar with, but it probably mentions it here. Among the celestial Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as Varuna is among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. So Varuna is a great demigod of the ocean. He's mentioned in the Krishna book in different stories. There is also a planet of trees presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. That's very interesting. I don't know about that, so I'm going to look that up, actually. There are many living entities who gave punishment to the miscreants. Among them is Yama, is the chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet, and after death, those who are very sinful are taken there. And Yama arranges different kinds of punishment for them. So Yamaraj is the presiding demigod of death, of judgment, death and judgment. So a lot of stories that he's mentioned in the Krishna book also, but also the Ajamila, right? Ajamila was supposed to be, the Yamadutes came and were going to take him to Yamaraj to be judged. And this is a really important point, because while there is no real eternal damnation, hell, there are judgments by your Yamaraj. And if you've lived a very sinful life, there are hellish planets for those kinds of sinful, like murder and rape. I mean, things that you've done in this life, you need, and this is a merciful, because your punishment is saving you from future life of experiencing these kinds of things in future lives. So the karma is being burned off. And Yamaraj also has said that when the living entity comes before him, he's instructing them about spiritual life. So he's a devotee of Krishna, and he has a role just like Maya Devi or anybody. It's a tough role, but the people that have come before him deserve the kind, because of their activities that they've done, very sinful and painful and cruel punishments that they've done on other living entities of Krishna. Text 30. Praladas chashmi daityanam chala kalayatam aham milganam cha mlgenoham vinay teyash cha pakshinam pralad cha also. Ashmi, I am. Daitshanam, of the demons. Kala, time. Kalayatam, of subduers. Aham, I am. Mriganam, of animals. Cha, en. Mrigendaha, the lion. Aham, I am. Vayanateyaha, Garuda. Cha, also. Pakshinam, of birds. So, very exciting. Of the Daita demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. So Prahlad Maharaj is one of the greatest devotees at 5 years old. He was just 5 or 6. Was born in a demon family of the great Hiranyakashipu, son of the Hiranyakashipu. And we know this story from Lord Nrsingadev. But he was the greatest devotee because he was instructed in the womb by Narada Muni. Narada Muni, once again, going through, enlightening people. He could have been just like his father. His father tried to raise him to be, with the proper education about politics and economics, and Prahlad was already a pure devotee by the time he came out of the womb, and he was just one focused on Krishna. And so he represents Krishna as a devotee, the great devotee. We offer respectful obeisances unto Prahlad Maharaj. Among subduers, I am time. Among the beasts, I am the lion. Among the birds, I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. So there's Garuda mentioned. Lion is very powerful. That's why Lord Nrsingadev came as part lion. A lion is very powerful. But this is also one that I've heard a wonderful lecture by Srila Prabhupada about subduers, I am time. Nothing can defeat time, right? Time keeps on ticking, 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 ticking into the future. That Steve Miller song, right? Okay, maybe I'm showing my age, but that was, there's so many songs about time. So, and it's a subduer. It's considered a subduer. Krishna is also considered Kala. Kala, time. He's also a representation of time, because as Srila Prabhupada said, there is nothing more valuable in this world than time. Because time is more valuable than money, is what he said. money is valuable, right? You can buy things from, but time, you can get money, you can lose money, get money. You can't get time back. So it will subdue everything. Subdue all these people who are arrogant and believe that, for all those people for thousands of years said that they're trying to find ways to live forever in this world. They are all subdued by time. This world is subdued by time. This universe is subdued by time. Our bodies are subdued by time. Donald Trump is subdued by time. The political parties of today are subdued by time. Everything is subdued by time. Our life, our achievements, everything in this material world, except our devotion, our relationship with Krishna, is not subdued by time. That's the only thing that's not subdued by time, because it has to do with our relationship with Krishna. Aditi and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas, and the sons of Ditis are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. I think this is also Diti and Aditi. This is also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, their story, and how they, where they came from, and very interesting. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious. And of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the barrier of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. A lot of great stories about Garuda, too. We heard the story about Garuda and the little bird, right? I don't know if you have, but I'll tell you. So the little bird, there's a story. The little bird is laying its eggs by the ocean shore, and the ocean tide came in and washed all the eggs out. And mother bird got so upset, she started fluttering around and flying and begging the ocean to please return my eggs, to return my babies. And the ocean just didn't do anything, just laughed at him, and went about that. So she decided, she got it in her mind that she was going to take all the water out of the ocean until she found her baby eggs. So she started in her little beak and taking water out and dropping it elsewhere. She'd go back and forth. And all the animals, all the aquatic animals, laughed and made fun. Oh, this is an impossible task. Well, this task was heard about from Garuda, and he decided that it was a very noble pursuit by his baby sister. So he went to the ocean and he said, told the ocean, you better give those eggs back lest I take up the role of the mother bird and take the water out of the ocean. So the ocean became very fearful and returned the eggs. And so this is a very important point, that there's nothing too small that can be, determination-wise, that can be done in the service of Krishna, because it will, even if it seems very insignificant and difficult, that it will be pleasing to Krishna and the devotees of Krishna. Text 31. Pavanam pavatam asmi Rama Shastra Britamaham Jashanam Makarash Chashmi Shlotasham Ashmi Jannavi. Pavanam, the wind, Pavatam, of all that purifies. Ashmi, I am. Rama. Shastra Britam, of the carriers of weapons. Aham, I am. Janashanam, of all the aquatics. Makara, shark. Cha Ashmi, I am also. Shrotasham, of flowing rivers. Ashmi, I am. Janavi, the river Ganges. Translation, text 31. Of the purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielder of weapons, I am Rama. Of the fishes, I am the shark, and the flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. So really amazing. So the wind blows and cleans out, if you have oftentimes you see this, there's smoke in the air and the wind comes in and will blow away the smoke. It purifies things. The wielder of Ramachandra, the wielder of weapons, so the great fighter, right? The shark and the Ganges River, other Ganges. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Yeah, very dangerous if you get bit. Thus, the shark represents Krishna, and of rivers, the greatest in India is the mother Ganges. Lord Ramachandra of the Ramayan is an incarnation of Krishna, is the highest, the mightiest of warriors. Ooh. Okay, just checking how far. Okay. Text 32. Shaganamadirantash cha majyam chaivaham arjuna adyatam ma vidyanam vadas pravadatamaham sarganam. Of all creations, adi, beginning, anta, end, cha, end, majam, middle, cha, also, eva, certainly, aham, I am, Arjuna, O Arjuna, ajyatam vidya, spiritual knowledge. That's a very interesting word. Ajatma, atma, it's in that word also. Vijanam, of all education, like Raja Vijaya, when we sing the King of Education. Vadaha, natural conclusion. Pravadatam, of arguments. Aham, I am. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of the sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among the logicians, I am the conclusive truth. So I referenced this idea that, in the Bible, there is God saying, the Alpha, God is the Alpha and the Omega in this Greek, right? Beginning and end. But one thing it didn't include was the middle, right? Because there is a beginning and there's an end, but you also have to have a sustainer. And so it's also very interesting to notice that Krishna expands himself to be as we've stated before in the Bhagavad Gita here, the creation, the maintaining, and the annihilation. So we have the creation by Lord Brahma through the agency of Lord Brahma, but indirectly through Krishna, the maintainer of Lord Vishnu, and the destruction of Lord Shiva. So this is a very interesting comparison. So that Krishna is the Alpha, the Omega, but also in Sanskrit, the Adi, Majam, and Anantaha. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. So these kinds of things, the science, which means it comes from the word sios, which means truth. And so we have the true science. There are a lot of different kinds of science and material sciences and other, but those are not spiritual sciences. They're not also the supreme science. The sciences that all other sciences are working within is the spiritual science of the self, bhakti yoga. Right? And among the logicians, I am the conclusive truth. So the greatest logic is that which concludes that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Among, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the greatest logician, even when he was younger and before he started chanting, spreading the names of Krishna. He was great in logic and debate. Among created manifestations, the total material elements are first created by Mahavishnu and are annihilated by Lord Shiva. Brahma is a secondary creator. Okay. All the created elements are different incarnations of the material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. So Lord Brahma was not actually able to create on his own. He had to meditate and learn how to create by receiving all the information and everything from Mahavishnu. Regarding the spiritual science of the self, there are many literatures, such as the four Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Gita. These are all representatives of Krishna. Among logicians, there are different stages of argument. The presentation of evidence is called japa. That's interesting. The attempt to defeat one another is called vitanda. I don't know if that's the same japa as the president. I think it's a different japa word. Sanskrit word. Presentation of evidence is japa, and the attempt to defeat one another is called vitanda, and the final conclusion is called vada. So you present your evidence, you use the evidence to try to defeat each other in debate, and then the conclusion is called vada. The conclusive truth, the end of all reasoning processes, is Krishna. The Bhaktivedanta is saying that. Logic is to be ultimately come to the final conclusion, which is Krishna. Text 33. Aksharanam akarosmi davanda samashikasya cha aham me vakshaya kalo datam vishvato mukha. Aksharanam, of letters, akara, the first, Ashmi, I am, Davanda, dual, Shamshik, Asha, compounds, Cha, and Aham, I am, Eva, certainly, Akshaya, eternal, Kala, time, Data, creator, Aham, I am, Vishvato Mukha, Brahma. Translation, text 33. Of the letters, I am the letter A. So the letter A is the beginning of the alphabet, right? It is also the beginning of all things. Without your first letter, you don't have everything else. So he's represented by the first letter. Among compounds, I am the dual word. That's interesting. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Akara, so that's in Sanskrit, the first letter. The first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet is the beginning of Vedic literatures. Yeah, and also, if you look at the word Om, sometimes people spell it O-M, but it's actually A-U-M. And so A is the first and representative of Krishna. Om, right? Without akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are many compound words, of which the dual word, like Ramakrishna, is called Devandava. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, like Radha Krishna, Ramakrishna. Yeah. For instance, Rama and Krishna have the same rhythm and therefore are called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate because time kills everything. That's great. Yeah, time is a representative of Krishna because in due course of time there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the great creators and living entities, Brahma is the chief. The various Brahmas exhibit 4, 8, 16, etc. heads accordingly, and they are the chief creators of their respective universes. The Brahmas are representatives of Krishna. So there is a famous story of where Lord Brahma of the universe goes to see Narayan, and he tells the gatekeeper to tell Lord Narayan that Lord Brahma is here, and the gatekeeper was like, which Brahma? And he was like, what do you mean, which Brahma? And he came in, and there, he realized that there are just multi-universes everywhere. Some of greater dimensions than ours. Ours is rather small. So here Bhaktivedanta is saying 4 heads, like our universe, 8 heads, 16 heads. And there were actually Brahmas with thousands and millions of heads, which is just you can't even wrap your head around that. You're like, just to fathom the immenseness of our own universe. It's even our galaxy, our solar system. It's just really that amount of space. It's just like, we can't even fathom that. Then you got to put on the fact that there are all these universes, and this is all but one so-called 1/4 of the total creation of the it's just just like makes you go, right? And if you try to think about it, so we don't have to try to think about it, we just accept it. So the Brahmas are the representatives of Krishna, right? And they all came and they were all bowing before Krishna with all their heads, and it's a very wonderful thing. So I think we'll stop there. We've got some more to go in this chapter, about I guess 8 more texts before we go on to the universal form chapter. And very exciting, very wonderful, beautiful, poetic chapter. And thank you very much. Namaste.